Over the years, I've had a few videos in which I discuss my general dislike of take-and-make games. Games in which there is a shared marketplace of items from which players draft components and build something in front of themselves. I generally dislike this type of design for two reasons. One, those games typically have low interaction, with the only interaction being drafting something that someone else wants. I'm making my own thing, no one can mess with it, so all they can do is take something that I might want. And you can do that. Maybe in a two-player game it makes sense to draft something that is really going to hurt another player, even though it doesn't help you. You're still gaining on them in the long run. But in a game with 3 or 4 players, you're not going to do that. You have to try to gain against everyone. Otherwise, you're going to be left behind. If I just hurt you and don't advance myself, well, those other 2 players are rushing ahead of us. So I got to focus just on the positive. And I want games in which I can have an impact on what happens to other players. The second element with these take-and-make games is it often feels like what can be taken and what can be built is not very interesting. Cascadia has the issue for me where you're taking a landscape tile and an animal. There's always 4 choices on display, and often they're kind of the same in terms of what you're taking. You're going to score for a certain landscape, you're going to score for the animal, and I can do this or this, and there's a 1-point difference. Maybe you took the thing that would have gotten me another point. So the difference is really incremental, and it's not very interesting in terms of choices. Or you have something like Calico, where someone can definitely take the exact tile that you want in terms of color and pattern that would have worked perfectly with what you've built. And that's more of an all or nothing thing. I'm building up something, maybe someone else takes that tile, maybe that tile doesn't even show up before the game ends, and that's that. It's just not as interesting in terms of what I'm doing, how I have to respond to the draft and then respond with what I'm building and try to do something clever with those components to make the best of it. A game like Michael Kiesling's Azul is the ideal type of take-and-make game for me because the drafting is very impactful. You're drafting from a limited pool that shrinks over time. It's not refilled constantly, and you can force others to take tiles they do not want, or force them to lock into a color in a certain row that they're building that they don't want to build. That color has already been mostly taken out of the game. It's probably not going to happen for them. They're not going to fill that row and build something. So good for me. Hopefully I helped myself at the same time I'm hurting them. And now I can hopefully hurt someone else with the draft as well. You're also doing more interesting things with the tiles that you do take and that you have to adapt to what is given to you or what is available to you in the drafting and try to make the best of it. So that game is a real winner for me. And the publisher of that game, Next Move, has a new company, same owner, same developer. The company is Final Score Games. They've just released their initial product, Ink, by Casper Lap. This is a 1 to 4 player game that has a very Azulish feel and that it is a take-and-make game. The components matter in terms of what you're taking. They're more differentiated, and you get to do clever things with what you're building in front of you in order to, ideally, play better than other people by seeing combinations and special plays that will help you relative to everyone else. You can do better with what you're taking if you're playing well and paying attention. Let me show you how it works. Here is some of the setup for Ink with a shared quill board having 6 tiles around it from which players can draft. Each player gets their own palette board showing 2 of the 5 colors included in the game. You place 12 ink bottles on that board and 12 ink bottles on the side. You get a random starting tile. You also have a board over here showing the bonuses that you will get as you complete objectives. When you complete objectives, you're going to mark them with ink bottles, and whoever places all of their ink bottles first wins. On a turn, you're going to take one of 2 actions, with most of those actions being to move your ink bottle to one of the 6 quills, take the tile there, and add it to your painting. So you can go to any of the 6. You are going to take a tile and add it to the painting by matching at least one edge. You probably want to do something like adding to color blocks that are already there, not do something silly like this, but you could if you want. The tiles are double-sided, with the other side being a mirror image of what's there, which in this case doesn't matter because it's the same both ways, but something like this is different from this because this will not match there and this one will. So if you complete an objective, you can now choose to do so. To complete an objective, you need an area and a color with at least as many spaces as the indicated number. So I need 3 purple spaces, 6 dark blue, 5 orange. I don't have any of that. I've got 3 yellow spaces here and 2 dark blue. I want to focus on collecting yellow and orange because the ink bottles on my palette board can be placed only on yellow and orange areas. These can be placed anywhere. So the palette board gives you a reason to focus on one color over another. End my turn, put out a new tile. Now, other people are going to take their turns. They take a tile, replace it. They take a tile. You can go to the same quill as someone else, replace it. I take another turn here. I can take any of the 6 tiles. I have to move, but I can, if I want this tile, circle the entire board. But maybe I go here first, I'm trying to get yellow and orange. I can add this here. I can add this here. And again, of course, I can add it any number of other spaces, but you want to build. And there's reasons to go in one space over another with where you're placing the free spots and what you're trying to build toward in the future. Again, I can't complete any objectives, so my turn is done. I'm going to skip most of the other players' turns because I just want to show you how this game works. But next turn, if someone has not taken this, which they might, if someone else was taking yellow, I might not have taken this tile, but jumped here immediately so that I could complete that 4 yellow objective. So if I take this, I can put it here. I'm adding to my light blue at the same time I add to yellow. I now have 5 yellow spaces with a 4 objective. I can score it if I want. I don't have to, but if I don't do it now, then I have to add to it in the future in order to score that objective. To score an objective, it's a yellow one, so I can take ink bottles off my palette board. I put one face down, that is with a cap down on top of the objective. This can now not be moved. You can complete each objective only once, but you also cover any free spots with bottles with the cap up. And those can be moved in the future. Why that's important is that when you cover a space with a bottle, it's now gone, essentially. I now have only 2 yellow spaces instead of 5, but I placed 3 bottles, which is moving me towards victory. In addition, if you complete an objective of size 4, 5, 6, or 7, you get the indicated bonus. Size 4, place 1 white spot on a free square. So you want lots of spots on your board because that will give you places to place ink bottles. And now I can add a spot where I wish. And I want to complete lots of yellow and orange. So let's add this here. Complete that tile or fill that spot with a new tile. Again, other people are going to take their turns. I can go here if I want. And here, you can have multiple objectives if you want in an area. Sometimes that's a smart move. I'll explain how in a moment. Let's say I do this. I'm going to put this here. Okay. Next turn, I'm going to go to one of these 6 spaces, which means I'm going to pass this X space. And when you go to the X, you have to pause for a moment and draw a tile from the X bag. This is the disincentive for you whipping around the wheel as quickly as you can and getting exactly the right tile. Because each time you hit the X, you have to draw one of these tiles. It's going to show an X in one of the 5 colors, and I now have to cover a light blue space with this tile that actually covers 2 spaces. So I can do this, which means I lose that purple objective, I lose that spot there, but the alternative, well, I can cover those 2. They're kind of out in the middle of nowhere, not really part of something. I can cover this, but again, I want yellow spots. I definitely don't want to cover the 6 orange. So maybe I just do this. I'll leave this here that hopefully I can score as well in the future. And then I continue with my turn. So, okay, let's say we go here. Sometimes you can chain together multiple turns at the same time. Let's see if I can do this in my example. So go here, draw this out. That's not going to help. I now have size 4 and size 5, but maybe I want to wait, get something else. Right? If this tile were available, let's say I'm going to grab this one instead and go here. Okay, now I have this large area. And you can score multiple objectives on the same turn, and you can do them in the order of your choice. So I could do a 4, a 5, or a 6. It's in orange. I could do the 6 first, put this face down or top down, add these here, and I get the power of the 6 objective, which is to move up to 2 ink bottles, which means I can move these immediately. I put that there, that there. And now I can score an area of size 5. Put this down, cover these again. I have only 3 orange spaces left, so I can't do the 4 objective, except the bonus of size 5 is to remove 1 ink bottle. When you remove it from your painting, you don't add it to your reserve, you just remove it from play completely. There we go. Now I can do the objective of size 4. Put that down, do this. I get the 4 bonus. Again, placing a spot. May as well do this because I expect to score that at some point. In that one turn, I have placed 5 bottles on the orange area. 1 got removed. 2 went elsewhere. So that's a total of 8 bottles in one turn in an area that seems like it wouldn't hold that many bottles because each time you complete the objective, you fill the spots. But the powers let you open them up again and reuse them. The 7 objective, or the bonus on the 7 objective is pretty sweet. All right, draw a tile and play it immediately. So right, you're going to build up areas. Give me some choices here. What do I want to do? Right, maybe I'm going to put this here. Now I got size 5. And now I do this. Right, do this giant one. And then I end up getting this 7. That's not good. Do this 7 here. You can do so much stuff now. I can do the 3 and just do purple and purple. I can do a 7. Again, putting this face down with 3 on here. That means I can't do the 3 and I can't do the 4, but maybe I can get a 5 or 6 in the future, move these off. And when I remove these, this technically counts as increasing the size of this area. And as long as you increase the size of an area on your turn, you can score the objective. So I get a 7, draw a tile at random from the bag. I can put this, well, this is not an area of size 3. The pink is going to help. I do something. This one didn't do much for me, but who am I to shun a tile? Maybe I'll just do this. Okay. Continue from here. All right, I get a 5 or 6. These pop out, and I score them. Now, you continue until someone has placed all of their ink bottles. And when that happens, you complete the round so that everyone has had the same number of turns. If you would place more ink bottles than you actually have available, you have a supply of black ink bottles off on the side, not one of the player colors of red, blue, or orange. And you use the black ink bottles to cover the excess here. And when you finish the round, if only one player has placed all of their bottles, they win. If more than one player has, who has placed the most black ink bottles? If one person has, they win. If there's a tie, then the tied players play another round. And is the tie now broken? If so, one of those players wins. If not, do another round with those tied players until you have a winner. Okay. A couple other things here. The X tiles. You put 3 in the bag per player out of 15, so it's a random assortment of the colors in there. Once all of those X tiles have been used, and the pace at which they will be used depends upon how much players circle the board, how quickly they go around. They will be replaced by tiles like this that show 2 X's in 2 colors. And if I draw this in the future, I have to cover 2 dark blue or 2 purple. However, I can do that. I can't do one of each. I could cover that. I could cover those 2 right there. And if you cover an area with an ink bottle, that bottle goes back to your reserve. And so now you have to place it again in the future. But maybe that's better than wiping out this area. Depends upon what's available, how many bottles you have, what colors are on your palette board, what colors are on other people's boards, and so on. So you're going to get these, and that will make things harder. Again, the disincentive to go around the board for the optimal tile, because you risk drawing one of these that will wreck whatever you're trying to score. Now, you're going to have variety in the game based upon your random starting tile, your palette board, how the tiles come out, how the X tiles come out. But beyond that, you have the bonuses themselves. You have 12 tiles in the game, 6 red and 6 blue backed. You draw 2 red and 2 blue at random, and you place them in this chart from low number to high, because they all have a number from 1 to 12 in the corner here. So another possibility, let's see what I have here. We have 3, 4, 9, and 10. We'll just show you all the powers just so you can see what's going to come out here. Place 1 colored square of your choice. So instead of white pips, you can have these colored squares, which of course will help you score objectives. If I complete a 4 objective, I can drop this light blue right here. And yes, I'm covering a free spot in yellow, but I have now added to this light blue area, and I can immediately score that objective. Maybe you can connect 2 objectives or connect 2 areas on the board. I've done that in the past where this wasn't available, and so maybe I place this right here, and now I can score the 4 objective and then score the 3 objective. Again, I've added to the size of that area so I can score that objective. Do the 4, do the 3. Okay, super valuable to do that. This one, move 1 tile from the edge of your painting. Okay, I've got 3 and 5 objective up here. None of these dark blue really help, but I could end up taking this out and moving it over here and getting me closer to completing this. Depending upon how you have objectives and what you have available, you can use a tile multiple times in order to complete objectives. Again, going back to the 3 and 4 here, depending upon how you have this set up, right? You can complete this. Again, this is a 5 right now. I need this to be a 5 objective. You complete the 5 objective, move a tile up here, put it next to here to complete the 3 objective, and so on. So you can reuse things with this. Place 1 ink bottle onto a white spot from a tile around the wheel. So if I'm not working on yellow or purple and I get a 6 objective, I can just drop this tile, drop that ink bottle on there. Someone else wanted to place their bottle on that free spot, and now I've already occupied it. They can still draft this tile and add it to their painting, but that spot's full. If they have a bonus that lets them remove bottles or move them, they will do so, and they treat it like a bottle of their own from that point on. But I get rid of a bottle, and I mess someone else up by putting that there. Remove up to 2 ink bottles from 2 different colors. Okay, that's straightforward. Again, remove right from the board into the discard. They're not coming back. Let's see the final 4 here. Okay. Change the number of an objective. Okay, aside from colored squares, aside from the pips, We have tokens showing 4, 5, 6, 7. I can change something here. I can make this an objective of size 5. Right? And then later add this on, and there we go. Well, let's do it this way. And now I'd scored the 5 objective. I'd still have 3 light blue together, and so on. So again, very helpful, primarily so that you can then get the bonus of your choice by making it 4, 5, 6, 7. You can't make it a 3 for an easy score. You're getting the bonus out of it, so make it count. Pick one tile from the wheel and keep it for a later turn. Okay, that seems straightforward. You have a tile you really want, think someone else is going to take it. There you go. You get to hold it in reserve, which helps as well because you don't have to move your ink bottle on the quill board in the future. So you don't have to advance toward the X. You can just use that tile that you have in reserve. And if you really want to take something that someone else desperately needs, especially in a 2-player game, you can do that instead. Move an ink bottle, remove an ink bottle. So that's straightforward. Each opponent draws a token from the X bag. This is the only one I haven't used in a game yet across 6 games. That just hasn't come out. Seems like that could be incredibly damaging. Someday that will come out. So you get the variety here as well, and you can do incredibly clever things depending upon the bonuses that are available and how you have set yourself up to do them. So just played a game before where we had this and what was the other one? This. All right. And so someone, if they do things in the right order, they could do the 5 objective, place out a colored square, still be able to complete a 4 objective in that same color, and change the objective to 4. And now, thanks to that other square that connected 2 areas, they can do that size 4 objective. So really cool stuff that you can do with the powers here. You have to be able to see them, and you will do better as you play more. At least I would think you would. This is aspect of the game I really love. This is why this is a take and make game that works for me, because there is so much going on with you making good choices for how you're arranging your board. You're still relying on luck with how the tiles are going to come up, but you can make better and worse choices, leaving opportunities for yourself for growth in the future. I've definitely made placements where 3 turns later, I realized I should have done something different. So I'm still learning how to do all this. But you can make better choices, learn how to leave yourself open space in which to grow, like these yellow spaces here, by placing pips together rather than dividing an area into multiple pieces and having it gone. Or maybe you do that and so you have the bottles there, but you also have a power that will let you move or remove bottles, and then you can open it up again and then rescore. Move a tile, rescore. All sorts of possibilities for doing this. It's very neat. Right? That is an interesting challenge trying to make this work in the context as well of a racing game. You're not trying to score points, you are trying to place your bottles first, which is so much more satisfying for me than another game in which you finish and then you tally the score. You got to get out the spreadsheet and start adding things up. Okay. Game's not perfect. There's a couple of things that I wish were better, primarily with the starting tiles and the X tiles. Let me get out some of those. X tiles, we got the starting tiles, or other starting tiles. So the regular tiles are all double-sided. The starting tiles are not, which means when you're cleaning up, you can flip over every tile or just look for the tiles that have 4 different colors on them, that have a 6-3 combination, and you'll know which ones are the starting tiles, and you set those aside, returning everything else to the bag. But it's hard to find these because there are other tiles as well that will have 4 colors and 4 spots on them. Why not make it easier to pick out of the crowd? This is good, but I put a black pip in the middle so that I can spot it. It's still not good enough. I'm going to draw essentially a black line all the way across. There's no reason not to do that, to make it easy to spot these tiles so that cleanup can be more straightforward. Along the same lines, these tiles, well, during setup, you put 3 single X in the bag at random per player. Once those are used up, you add all of these to the bag, but they are the same on the back. So during setup, when certain players, like me, dump everything out on the table, and now you have to figure out, is this a single X? Is this a single X? How many single X are there? Sort them all out, and then turn them face down again, and then randomly choose 3 per player and throw them in the bag. Why not mark this? A single mark on the back of these, a double mark on the back of these, or just mark these and don't mark these at all? Something to differentiate the two so that you don't have this additional step of turning things over and trying to see what's there. Similar to turning these over and trying to figure out what's there. Small tweaks would have helped with the graphics here, just to speed things along a little bit. There's an overview of Ink, which I played 6 times on a review copy from Final Score Games, 3 times with 3 players, twice with 2 players, and once on my own in a solo game. And aside from my minor quibbles with the graphic design, this is pretty much ideal for my taste, even as a take and make game, because the take aspect of the game allows for a lot of interaction among players and allows you to have an impact on what others are doing, assuming that you are paying attention. You don't have to, of course. You can just focus on the quill board, focus on your own painting. Here's what I'm going to take because it's what's best for me. But you got some flexibility in what you're doing. You have your palette board, so you need to build up 2 colors in particular in order to place those ink bottles on your board, but you've got some other bottles to play around with. So you look at the palette boards of what other people have. Maybe you're competing in a color with 1 or more players. So maybe you take moves to ensure that you get those tiles. You move a little farther around the quill board than you would like to in order to get the thing that's perfect for you. You make that choice to do that, to take it away from them. Or you're just looking at what's on their palette board, the colored areas they built up, the colored objectives that they have, and that they're trying to add to, and you take that into account when you're deciding what to take. You've got wiggle room for what you're going to build thanks to the ink bottles on the side in addition to the ink bottles you have on your palette board. So you can still score things, and take stuff away from opponents and make it harder for them. And I've had games where that's been really helpful. I've been able to do that, and games where I took my eye off the ball and didn't keep something from them that I really should. And then sometimes luck just works against you where it delivers exactly what someone needs at the right time. I had one game where the quill board had no tiles with objectives that the opponent desperately needed. I took my turn, draw a tile. It's exactly what they need. So luck didn't work out in that case, but of course they made the luck happen by building up that colored area. They had a group of tiles that had gone up, and one side they'd built up and they'd completed many objectives, and the other side was just there waiting. They just needed an objective. 4, 5, 6, 3, 4, 5, 6. Could have scored it, and it happened. So they made the luck happen. They put themselves in the position where it would work out. They're not just relying on total chance, but they give themselves the opportunity to make luck happen. So I like games like that where, again, you've got the randomness that's coming. You have opponents that can impact you, and you have clever things that you can do as you're taking tiles and building things up, trying to move ink bottles around so you can score areas in multiple ways. I realized one thing I left out in my explanation of the game was the second action that you can take on a turn. Speaking of clever things you can do, this is the least clever thing possible. On most of your turns, you're going to move your ink bottle and take a tile and add it to your painting. The second action that's available to you is to move 2 ink bottles from your palette board into your general reserve. And that's the entire turn. It's a real nothing of a turn. It's almost an admission of failure that you have been unable to put together blocks of those colors and score it. And Yes. Sometimes it feels that the luck is just against you and those colors just aren't coming out, but sometimes you've got to move further than you want in order to force it, in order to make it happen, or ensure that you use the powers that are available to you to score those colors multiple times by moving ink bottles out, by removing them, by adding more squares, by changing the objective number, adding more free spots, whatever it is, in order to maximize the scoring in those colors on your palette board. You have a fair amount of control on what's there. Your opponents have some control on what's available to you. And sure, there's some luck with the dice bag as well, or the draw bag. But you have some control. You really don't want to take that second action. You can use a bonus action that allows you to move ink bottles instead of moving a bottle from one free spot to another free spot in order to open up an area and score it again. You can move a bottle from your palette board to your reserve, which again, you don't want to do. That's not helpful, but maybe you have to make it happen. I had one game in which an opponent got down and they had one bottle in the reserve and two on their palette board. And they had almost no areas built up of that color. And so, okay, fine. Now I'll move it over. I'll get that done. So made that happen. And man, there's so many clever things that you get to put together while you're playing. You see it all come together tile by tile, a little bonus. And you try to build up and try to chain things together. It gives me exactly what I'm looking for in terms of that cleverness and the interaction, the luck. It's all there. And wrapped up in a beautiful looking box, which is tiny elements that I will need to fix with markers. I will do that. Aside from that, it's all ideal. It's got the little ink bottles as well that, of course, are going to be super attractive to anyone walking by. It's a nice little clever, fun thing to play with and stack and move around, and it just feels good to play. One of the real aspects of games that lots of people dig into. That's in here as well. So that's it. Solo game, by the way, didn't mention that. You're going to put down the solo X tiles face down at random. You take a turn. The opponent takes a turn. You reveal a tile, and you're going to remove a tile from the quill board that either has a free spot or an objective in the color revealed. And so tiles are going to disappear at random, and you have to place out all your ink bottles before you run out of those tiles for the neutral player. That's it. It works well, but not my type of thing, but it's there if you want to try that. Me, I want to compete against other people. Get out my bottles first.